Hey fam, welcome back to Love Restored. I am your host, Marshaun Olaniyan, and you are watching KCCR The Brownstone. Now, Love Restored. Let's talk about Love Restored and why I decided to start Love Restored and why you should be watching Love Restored every week, watching or listening to it, depending on the platform that you're on. The reason why you need to be watching Love Restored is because just like many of you out there, your girl Marshaun Olaniyan here, the host, did not receive too many special instructions. I didn't receive the strategies. I didn't receive the tools in order to be in a healthy relationship, let alone a marriage. And I went out there, like many of you, trying to figure this thing out on my own. And it's really touched my heart, especially here in the Black community, where we have been behind when it comes to building and sustaining beautiful, loving relationships. And I want you to know that it doesn't have to be for somebody else, meaning a beautiful, loving relationship is not just for other people, it is for us as well. It's just like us getting the keys to anything else. Now we need to get the keys to our relationships and our marriages so we can not only survive, let's get out of survival mode and actually start thriving in our relationships. And because just like you, I didn't receive the tools and information. I actually went through a divorce before, and it's not fun. And I also feel like I should have never been through a divorce because it should have just been information that was passed along to me that was not there. So instead of me continuously seeing my loving sisters and brothers out here and continuously bumping your head, I want to come impart some of my information as well as my experience, as well as my data that I've collected over all of these years, 15, 16 years that I've been in the game of relationships, and getting you to where I'm actually already at, which is confident, uh, high self esteem, knowing exactly what you want, being able to pinpoint so you don't have to play games out here in this world. So now that's who I am. That's who I help. Again, you are watching KCCR The Brownstone, or you're listening to it. If you have yet to download the apps on all of your smart devices, then go ahead and do that. And definitely check out the Brownstone Worldwide, or it's actually brownstoneworldwide.com, and find out everything that's on there. Now, we are still discussing my book, Reignite Your Relationship by 7X, by your girl, Marshaun Olaniyan, me. And today we are on chapter 7. We're talking about spending quality time with yourself in addition to your spouse. We have already gone through the first 6 chapters in this book. Again, we are on chapter 7 today, and I want to read you the quotes. The quote says, "An empty lantern provides no light. Self-care is the fuel that allows your light to shine brightly." Now, this is an unknown quote, meaning we don't know who actually said this quote, but it's so true. It's so true. Self-care is the fuel that allows your light to shine brightly. You must be able to spend quality time with yourself without your spouse, but of course, with your spouse as well. Now, me time. Me time is essential to any relationship. This is where you're spending time, you're spending quality time with yourself. We call it me time, right? So, me time is a time where you need to get away from all of your responsibilities, get away from your spouse, get away from your kiddos, and so you can focus on what your needs are, what your wants are, what your desires are, what goals you want to attain, so you can literally hear your own voice. You don't have to be mom, you don't have to be wife, you don't have to be any of that. You just are doing this for you, for your sanity, so you can recharge your battery, if you will, recharge your battery, your body, recharge your mind so you're not burnt out. So when you do go back to your family, you can actually get back in there and really cater to their needs and their wants. But it's because you have taken the time to fill your own cup. We cannot give what we do not have. So by filling up your own cup, by really taking a deeper dive into the things that you need, when it's time for you to come back, now you're fully recharged. You're able to really hear your spouse when they're asking for something. You're able to really hear your child or children ask you for what they need, and be able to provide to them willingly, freely, open, because now your toolbox has been filled back up. The toolbox, your gas tank, however you want to look at it, it is now full again. You have refueled yourself by taking and spending quality time with yourself away from everybody. So you can just do you. Because me time really makes us feel free. Like I have a client that I'm currently working with, and this is one of the things that we were saying. She's given and given and given and given and given to everybody but herself. And so she decided to finally take herself out on a vacation and do her, where she feels free. She's a mom. She's trying to get away from mom for the weekend. She just wants to be her first name. She wants to be X. X. She wants to be X, right? And X is her name. I'm just not going to say her name. She wants to just be free. She wants to take times to think things through. She really went on her vacation to write and journal out some things that she wants to do in her life because she's been so busy and we get pulled in all of these directions. And she's like, I just need time for me right now. I need time to think things through. I need time to really pen to paper a lot of things that I know that I want to do, dreams, goals, aspirations. So when it's time for me to come back, now I have something to focus on to do just that. Right? So you have to give yourself me time. It's important for the both of you to be able to take me time apart. So when you two come back together, now you can have these stories that you can share one another. So you feel like you still know your spouse. And if your spouse is a great storyteller, now you feel like that you were at that location with them, even though you weren't, based off of how they tell the story and bring you in to make you feel like you were a part of it. So not only do you need this time, you also need to understand that your spouse needs this time as well. Now, after you have recharged, designate a time so you can discuss the things that actually went on, right? So again, that goes back into the story that you're sharing with your spouse because you're a great storyteller, but you also are not trying to create a life outside of your spouse, but you're trying to regain some focus for yourself. But then also now that it's time now that you've gotten back with your spouse, now you two are sharing the stories, the dreams, aspirations, your goals, and now you're able to figure out how you can do this. So not only are you growing as an individual, not only is your spouse growing as an individual, now you two are trying to figure out how to grow together. So very important to take your me time for yourself and then also spend some time, quality time with your spouse as well. Now, when you two come back together, the beautiful thing about this is where you two are discussing and working on the areas of strength, but really you're working on focusing on the areas that are weak in your relationship. So now you two can figure out how to make those areas stronger. How to make the weak areas stronger. This is when you two come back together, right? Because many people assume that their relationship will just magically happen. And guess what? Relationships don't just magically happen. There is some time, there is some energy, there is some focus, there is the both of you trying to figure out what it is that you can do, like your part. What do I have control that I can actually start to work on and change about myself first, but then also how I'm showing up in my relationship. And then if you have a great spouse, a great partner, they should be doing the exact same thing. What am I actually doing? What are my areas of weakness? The things that I'm not doing, I'm not bringing to the table, I'm not as strong in that I can really start to focus on and start to bring those things into relationship so I can make it healthier, stronger. We can feel more connected together, like we are building this thing together. We are building the empire together versus trying to do two individual lives in the same relationship. There is some individuality while you're in the relationship, but the big portion of it is the two of you are together doing this thing together. Just me time. And the me time doesn't have to be long. For some people, it's just a few hours. For some people, it's a few minutes, meaning like 30 or 40 minutes, right? It could be up to an hour. But the point is, you need to figure out how you can recharge. Have the conversation on how you can recharge so you can be able to pour from a full cup versus an empty one. You really want your cup to still be full and overflowing so your spouse, your children, your friends, your siblings, your parents, etc. can get you from the overflow versus from the actual cup. The cup is for you, the overflow is for everyone else. But the only way to get that, the only way to do this is for you to take some time for yourself so you can think, so you can just be. So you don't have to be anybody's mom again. So you're taking away the responsibilities, even being anybody's wife in that moment. You just want to be you. In my case, I want to be Marshaun. I just want to be me. I don't want to be mom. I don't want to be wife. I just want to be me for a few hours, for a weekend, where everybody's just calling my name. Not any acronym. Not babe, not love, not mom, none of that stuff. Just Marshaun. That's what you want. Again, because when you come back together, now you're fully recharged. So taking the time to really work on you, to take the time for yourself. This is how you're going to keep your relationship over a long period of time so you two can remain just as happy as you once were. You're going to stay connected. And because staying connected really can be a problem in a lot of relationships if you allow it to happen. And it happens slowly but surely. It's not necessarily fast and in your face. It really is over a period of time where it's like, ooh, I don't feel as connected as I once was. And so we must remain intentional about our relationships and how we want to show up in those relationships. So this is being intentional. You are intentionally taking time for yourself, spending quality time with yourself, and then spending some quality, once you get back, spending some quality time with your spouse. So the two of you can reconnect and stay together. Now, I am your girl, Marshaun Olaniyan, and you are listening to KCCR The Brownstone. If you have yet to download the apps, please go ahead and do that on all of your smart devices. Go ahead and check out brownstoneworldwide.com to see all of the beautiful personalities on the shows that are here on KCCR The Brownstone, and then as well as just keep coming back to get your cup refueled here with this beautiful community, because there is so much to take away from this community. And Brownstone Worldwide is just, listen, we are working in excellence around here. And so if you are receiving what you need from me, there are others that you can receive in other areas of your life as well. And I know it's financial, right? We might need a little music put in there. Get you some music. Go get your finances together. But listen, what you need is all here. It's all here. You just need to tap into it. So now let's jump back into me time, right? And the topic of today, which is spending quality time with yourself as well as your spouse. Let's jump back in. The next thing is maintaining a healthy relationship could mean different things. In this case, it might mean that you got to sacrifice that last 30 minutes of sleep because you need to connect with your spouse. It could mean, and it should mean, putting in the effort and making each other a priority. Absolutely. You got to do it. Because again, relationships and beautiful marriages don't just magically happen. Some work has to be put in order for it to be smooth sailing. We got to go through those bumpy, rough areas before it goes to, the water is just calm and good. You good, I'm good, we good. But that does not just happen. Now, on top of that, spending quality time together is beautiful, but you don't want to just spend quality time together working on and working through your weak areas. You got to spend other quality time together, not working on necessarily working on a relationship, but just being in relationship with your spouse, being around your spouse, having conversations about different things, whether it's heavy stuff or light stuff, but just making sure that your time together is special. Quality time is essential for continued growth with your spouse. It's essential. If you're just having little blips of conversations or only texting each other or only emailing one another and you're not spending the quality time together, I'm telling the quality of your relationship is going to decline. You got to put in some FaceTime and be honed in on your spouse. Now, is this always going to happen 100% of the time? Absolutely not, because there are different things in life that comes up, whether it's something at work, a new project, it could be an ailing parent, it could be you are ailing, and now we got to focus and give our attention to this thing that's happening in our life. So it's not always going to be 100%, but and if you slow down and give the quality time now when everything is cool, then when those emergencies come, because they are, because this is life, so when the emergencies actually come to the surface, now the two of you are still connected and you two can still have that feeling of connection when things are going downhill. You don't want to confuse this time with just being in the same house at the same time, in the same room. Distractions are always here. And so you have to be intentional about making the time special, making the time where you two, again, are FaceTime, giving each other the conversation that each of you need, checking in on one another. Like I was talking to the client today, and he mentioned how he wishes that his girl would hone in on the fact that whenever he says, man, I had a tough day, instead of her saying, well, whoa, what happened? Or, like leaning in to figure out what she could do or even say in that moment to soothe his day, she kind of brushes past it and was like, well, the child needs X, Y, and Z, or the trash needs taken out. Whatever that thing is that she is her emergency, she doesn't connect with the fact that he really is saying, hey, I need to get this out. I want to talk to you about this thing. I want to get this thing out with you. And a lot of times she bypasses it and she doesn't see it as a thing to keep them connected. And so if a person is kind of giving you the cue, they're giving you the green light to come into your world even further, which in this case is your spouse, you got to take the leap. We have to slow down and pay attention. All of those things, taking out the trash, right? X, Y, and Z, the appointment needs to be made. All of that is not as important in the moment when I want to show my vulnerability to you. So we got to slow down. Got to slow down. Another thing that I want to address here quickly is to make sure that you are not always spending quality time with your spouse when the kids are around. Because the truth of the matter is, literally, it's not a lot of quality time, especially when you have young kids, because young kids are very selfish. And not necessarily in a bad way. This is really the way that they feel that they need to survive. It's just something that kids do. You did it, I did it, we all do it as kids. But at the same time, because they want that time, energy, and attention, that means that your spouse is no longer getting it. So now you have to be intentional about the time that you are spending with your spouse. Don't try to do it when your babies are around. Do it after they go to bed or before they wake up, or make those intentional date nights so you can keep the connection between the two of you. Get a babysitter, have somebody come over to your house, or take them over to somebody else's house. Make a play date, or during the play date, you now have a date with your spouse, right? So being very intentional to make sure that you're not always doing things with the kids around. Because here's the thing, your kids will grow up. Your kids will leave you. And then you have to try to figure out, who is this person in this room with me right here? I no longer know who the heck this person is across the table from me, let alone that's sleeping in the same bed with me. And when your kids grow up and leave, and now you have to think about, I got to reintroduce myself to this person across the room, because both of you have been growing, and it's obviously in different directions, which is why the distance is there and you don't feel the connection with your spouse, is because you allow the child or children to come between you. Not necessarily that you're doing it on purpose, but you didn't become aware of what was actually happening. And because kids are selfish, they'll continue to do it year after year, because guess what? You have made them the most important person in your life. And now you have moved your spouse out of the way. So just making sure that you understand that kids are absolutely important, and we have to impart our knowledge and wealth and health to them. Yes. But at the same time, if you want to keep your marriage, if you want to keep this relationship, you still have to nurture and put in your time and energy with your spouse. Okay? You don't want to have to reintroduce yourself after your children leave. So 18, 12, 15, 18 years later now, and that's if your relationship stands the test of time. Because some people be like, I'm out the door, right? So now let's move forward, because we want to make sure that we are continuing to share our hopes and dreams with our spouses when things change, like continue that dating process, as I mentioned before. So now let me just give you a little break here. You are continuing to listen to the Love Restored show on KCCR, The Brownstone, with your host, Marshaun Olaniyan here. I'm super excited that you are here. And again, we are talking about chapter 7, which is spending quality time with yourself as well as with your spouse. If you want to pick up your book, then absolutely go ahead and do that. It is bit.ly/reigniting relationships, all lowercase letters. Again, bit.ly/reigniting relationships. So now let's continue to jump back in. Now, I just mentioned dating. So let's talk about dating. The key to a great date with your spouse. This is your quality time together, right? So the key to a great date with your spouse is to make sure that you do not administrate your relationship when the two of you go out, which means that you are not discussing household duties on your dates. You're not discussing finances. You're not discussing problems with the kids. You're not discussing their doctor's appointments, etc. You are really looking to make sure that your time spent together is all about connecting with your spouse. You're trying to build and create beautiful memories with your spouse. So think about ways that you can be playful with one another and laugh with each other and reminisce about different things and flirt with one another. So this actually increases the odds of creating a memorable night. So you can pass along the things that actually worked, that helped you to stay together, to your child or children, and they don't have to go out here and bump their head like me, like you, right? You want to be able to impart to them the things that are working in life, as well as the things that didn't work in your life. But dating is a beautiful thing that you want to do, but you also want to make sure that you are doing it in a way where you want to go back out and do it again. Because maybe this is the first time that you have dated your spouse in a long time. Well, do you want to go out on your date and actually talk about all of the things that need to be done in the household? Is that fun? No, it's not fun. You want to make sure that your dates are fun, that you guys are having fun with one another, and that you're just thinking to say, hey, this is great. This is great. Now I remember why we two got together in the first place. I love to hear you laugh. We haven't gone dancing in a long time. I remember what it was like dancing with you before. I remember what it was like when we did our first kiss. I remember when it was like fill in the blank. But you have to make this time special and keep the dates going. I tell my clients to put them on the calendar. No, it's not sexy, but guess what? If it's scheduled, it's probably going to get done. Like it increases your chances of it getting done so much more just by pen and paper your date nights and make them non-negotiable. Nothing should come in between the date nights with your spouse. Nothing. I get emergencies come up and all that stuff. Great. But don't put anything in between your date nights. You want her to feel just as special every week or whenever you decide to do it. Bi-weekly, weekly, bi-weekly, monthly. Whenever you do it, try not to let anything come in between the time that you need to reconnect with your spouse. So now, question before we wrap this up. Again, thank you so much for being here this evening or during the daytime whenever you're listening to this and spending 30 minutes out of your day to connect with me, your girl Marshaun Olaniyan. Love Restored, the name of the show, where we can talk about reigniting your relationship by 7X, because who doesn't want to reignite the relationship? I am giving you the tools, the tips, and the strategies that I lacked, that probably you are lacking, which is why you're here, which is why you keep coming back listening to this, because you want to be better. So now here's the question. How much more intimate could your relationship be with your spouse by you being intentional and staying connected? I want you to journal that. That is your homework. Journal that question. How much more intimate could your relationship be by you being intentional and staying connected with your spouse? Again, I am Marshaun Olaniyan. You are listening to KCCR The Brownstone. Go check out thebrownstoneworldwide.com to look at all of the personalities that are on there and everything else that is being shared and showcased with you. Finally, if you have yet to download the apps on all of your smart devices, then go ahead and do that. And if you want to connect with me outside of Love Restored, then definitely reach me at www.marshauno.com. Again, that's www.marshauno.com. I love you guys, and there's nothing that you can do about it. And I will see you on the next show. Yeah, I'm gonna see you on the next show where we actually talk about what is chapter 8? Sorry, I thought I had it together, but I don't. Chapter 8. Discuss these relationship expectations, and we'll talk about the expectations. There are several expectations, but I'm going to address the top 3 in the next